You have to think anyway, so why not think big, Donald Trump? In this video, we will explore what truly separates successful people from those who face financial difficulties. What have figures like Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, and Robert Kiyosaki discovered about how to build wealth? Let's discuss how financial education, the smart use of debt, and an expansion mindset can be the keys to achieving financial freedom. So, if you want to learn from the best minds in the business world, stay until the end. And, of course, take the opportunity now to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell to receive our updates, and not miss any transformative content. We are here to help you grow and thrive both in investments and in your personal life. Is your property an asset or a liability? Let's start our discussion by addressing a widely held belief. Your home is the most valuable asset you own. How many times have you heard that statement? Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki have opposing views and deeply disagree with this idea. Both argue that, in fact, your house may be the biggest liability you have. This may come as a shock to many, but let's understand the reasons behind this perspective. Both Trump and Kiyosaki share the belief that by purchasing a home and relying on it for financial security, you are committing a significant portion of your income. If the mortgage payments are not made, the house quickly turns into a huge debt capable of ruining your financial health. They recognize the value of property, but emphasize that it should be used wisely. Trump, a real estate mogul, stated, "Real estate is like a loaded gun. They can protect you or they can ruin your life. If you master the use of this tool, it can become a powerful ally in building your wealth. However, otherwise, it could be the cause of your downfall." You have probably seen people lose their homes during economic crises because they couldn't afford the expenses. Instead of providing security, the property has turned into a big problem. But then, how to use property wisely? The answer lies in financial knowledge. Trump talks about the concept of leverage, the use of debt to multiply your capital. Debt can be a path to wealth or a burden that ruins your life, he says. The secret lies in knowing how to use debt strategically, expanding your growth opportunities instead of stifling them. As Kiyosaki emphasizes in his book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what truly defines a good investment is not the asset itself, but how well you understand its functioning. Let's take a practical example. Suppose you buy a house and rent out part of it. This strategy allows you to cover your expenses and still earn some extra income. In this case, you turned what could be a liability into an asset that generates income. However, without this type of approach, the house becomes just a constant source of expenses. The most powerful tool or the most dangerous enemy? Speaking of debts, Donald Trump is possibly the biggest advocate for their smart use to build wealth. While many people fear the idea of incurring debt, he sees it as an essential tool for success. However, as he always emphasizes, it is a double-edged sword. You can use debt to accelerate your financial growth, or if you don't manage it properly, it can lead to your downfall. Trump mentions that debt is a powerful tool, but it must be handled with extreme care. The concept of leverage that he advocates is based on the use of borrowed capital to increase one's earnings. Meanwhile, he also warns that the more you rely on debt, the smarter you need to be in managing it. This implies that, when using this tool, it is crucial to have a well-developed plan to ensure that the return on your investment exceeds the cost of the debt. Here is a simple example. Imagine that you take out a loan to acquire investment property. If this property generates rental income that covers the debt and still brings profit, you are using debt to your advantage. On the other hand, if the rental income does not cover the loan amount, you will be losing money, which could lead you to ruin. Most people make the mistake of using debt irresponsibly without understanding how it affects their financial health in the long run. Trump and other renowned investors like Ray Dalio and Robert Kiyosaki always emphasize the importance of learning to use leverage strategically, thereby increasing their chances. The myth of living below your means. One of the most controversial ideas that Donald Trump proposes is the concept of living below your means. For him, this idea is poison for the prosperity mindset. He believes that instead of limiting his desires and restricting his spending, the focus should be on expanding his skills to generate income. Trump shares the story of a friend who always flew first class, even when his financial situation wasn't the best. For this friend, flying first class made him feel good about himself and helped him maintain a mental state conducive to success. This motivated him to work harder to achieve a high level of financial success. Trump concludes, "I'm not suggesting that you spend irresponsibly, but sometimes it's necessary to put yourself in a mindset that favors growth and abundance." This mindset is echoed in famous quotes from other notable investors. Bob Proctor, for example, said, "The key to changing your reality is changing your mindset. If you focus only on cutting expenses and restricting your desires, you will end up settling for less. However, by focusing on increasing your sources of income, you can enjoy a fulfilling life without giving up on your desires." The path to wealth. For Donald Trump, the true key to achieving financial success does not lie in living with less, but rather in expanding one's possibilities. He believes that the secret to accumulating wealth is to always seek growth, learn more, and constantly challenge oneself. This involves taking calculated risks, investing in your financial education, and seizing the opportunities that arise. Trump shares the belief that you should always strive to take the next step in your career or investments. He remembers a situation where he was flying in his private jet and saw a much larger plane taxiing alongside. Instead of feeling inferior, he used that as a source of inspiration. "I was on my jet, but I spotted that giant plane and thought, that's my next step, not because the bigger jet would make me happier, but because it symbolized progress and the constant pursuit of evolution." Just like Trump, many successful investors believe that the pursuit of growth is what keeps them motivated and inspired. Warren Buffett, for example, always talks about how he continues to learn and evolve, even after decades of success. The mental state of success. Financial success is closely linked to the mental state you cultivate. Donald Trump believes that it is necessary to feel good about oneself in order to achieve success. He shares the story of a friend who, even without many resources, always allowed himself experiences that made him feel good. This positive mindset was crucial for him to believe in his potential for success. The mindset you adopt directly influences your actions. If you don't see yourself as a successful person, you will have difficulties achieving your financial goals. As Trump says, you need to believe in yourself. If you don't believe, who else will believe? Reflect on how you present yourself to the world. How do you feel about your progress and achievements? Confidence and self-esteem are fundamental. A positive mental state not only improves your quality of life, but also attracts new opportunities. Remember the famous quote by Jim Rohn, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Therefore, surround yourself with people who encourage your growth and share a success mindset." If you've ever felt discouraged, don't give up. The most important thing is to learn to hold your head high and find ways to improve your situation. Sometimes, this may mean adjusting your mindset. Instead of seeing challenges as barriers, view them as opportunities for growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? For example, if you are facing difficulties with debt, don't just focus on the pressure it brings. Ask yourself, how can I use this experience to become more financially educated and avoid similar problems in the future? This approach will not only help you overcome difficulties, but it will also shape your mindset, preparing you to better handle the challenges that arise. In concluding this point, remember that your mindset is one of the most valuable assets you possess. Take care of her as you would care for a financial investment. Dedicate time to self-knowledge and personal development, and you will see the changes reflected in your financial life. Now that we have discussed the importance of mental state in achieving financial success, Let's explore how knowledge and financial education can become your greatest allies. It's time to understand how education impacts your financial decisions and why this is crucial for thriving in the world of investments. Let's go. The power of financial education. If there is one thing that all great investors agree on, it is the importance of financial education. Donald Trump has always stated, the true key to success is knowledge. The great dilemma is your property an asset or a liability? Let's address a widely held belief. Your home is the biggest asset you own. How many times have you heard that statement? Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki have a completely opposing view of this idea. For them, in fact, your house may turn out to be the biggest liability you have. This may sound surprising, but let's analyze why. Trump and Kiyosaki argue that by purchasing a house and relying on it for your financial security, you are committing a significant portion of your income. If you can't keep up with the payments, the house quickly turns into a huge debt and can even harm your financial health. They see property as a valuable resource, but only if it is used wisely. Trump, a real estate mogul, states, real estate is like a loaded gun. They can protect you or they can cause your destruction. If you learn to use it properly, it can become a powerful ally in building your wealth. Otherwise, it could be the reason for your failure, and he is absolutely right. You have probably witnessed people losing their homes during times of economic crisis, unable to cope with the expenses. The property, instead of providing tranquility, ends up becoming a burden. But how can we use property wisely? The answer lies in financial knowledge. Trump mentions the concept of leverage, using debt to multiply one's capital. Debt can be your ally to become wealthy or your enemy that can destroy you, he says. The secret lies in using debt strategically, increasing your chances of growth rather than being overwhelmed by it. Kiyosaki, in his book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, states, what determines a good investment is not the asset itself, but how well you understand how it works. Let's consider a practical example. Suppose you buy a house and rent out a part of it. This not only helps cover your expenses, but also generates extra income. In this case, you turned what could be a liability into an income-generating asset. On the other hand, without this type of strategy, the house would be nothing more than a constant source of expenses. Your financial journey starts now. To conclude, remember that your financial journey is unique. You don't need to follow in the exact footsteps of others. As Robert Kiyosaki said, the most important thing you can do to get rich is to keep an open mind and keep learning. And Donald Trump reinforces, the true test of a man is not whether he fails, but whether he can rise up and keep fighting. So if you want to transform your financial life, the first step is to invest in financial education. Start now, subscribe to the channel for more tips like this, and share this video with someone you know needs to hear this.